Welcome to Does It Matter by Brainy Ballers, where we dissect the game with cutting-edge analytics to give you the upper hand. We analyze everything from hand sizes to average depth of targets to uncover hidden trends that no one else sees. Say goodbye to guesswork and hello to data-driven domination. Because here at Brainy Ballers, we don't just watch the game, we understand it. So get ready, it's podcast time.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a classic question, one that really sparks endless debates among sports analysts, fantasy football players. You know the one.
Yeah, absolutely. Does raw speed, like specifically that blazing 40-yard dash time, does it really matter for NFL running backs?
Exactly. We've actually sifted through a mountain of data for you, meticulously gathered since 2003. We're talking NFL Combine numbers lined up with top 50 PPR fantasy football finishers. So our mission today really is to unpack whether there's a true, quantifiable link between those sprint times and what actually happens on the field.
Production.
And what we found, well, it isn't just some slight trend. It's actually a pretty loud and clear signal coming from the data.
Okay.
Our analysis, it unequivocally shows a surprisingly strong connection. We saw that top-performing running backs consistently clocked faster 40 times than the lower-ranked guys.
Consistently.
In a striking 85.7% of seasons. That's not marginal. It's a pattern year after year. That consistency makes you wonder, is there like a specific number, a cutoff, where it really starts to make a difference? What did the deep dive show there?
Exactly. We zeroed in on that. There's a significant optimal 40-yard dash threshold.
Do you want to start dominating your drafts? At BrainyBallers.com, we've researched every metric under the sun for you to find which ones are best linked to fantasy points. You can access hundreds of metrics to sharpen your scouting abilities so you know which metrics matter and which are just noise. Stop guessing on which thresholds to look for within each metric. Big numbers can be misleading or irrelevant. Our Ultimate Athlete Blueprints reveal essential scouting metrics, their importance, and benchmarks within each metric that help predict a player's probability of being a success or bust. Elevate your scouting ability with Brainy Ballers' Ultimate Athlete Blueprints today. Click the link in the description. Now back to the show.
4.57 seconds and below.
4.57.
That seems to be where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
And here's where it gets really kind of game-changing for evaluating talent, right?
Right.
A remarkable 81.0% of the top 10 running back fantasy finishers since 2003.
That's 111 out of 137 players.
Right, 111 of them actually met this 4.57 threshold. That's powerful validation right there.
It really is. And if you want some perspective, just compare that to the guys finishing at the bottom 10 RBs in that same group.
Okay, how do they stack up?
Well, only 56.7% of them met that same threshold. That's 68 out of 120.
So a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a 24.3% higher frequency for the top performers. And what's really telling, this trend, it's become even more pronounced in just the last decade. It suggests pure speed is getting even more critical for today's elite backs.
So, okay, it's not just a feeling or an observation. There's solid statistical backing here. How strong did that relationship look when you actually, put it to the test statistically?
Yeah, we ran regression testing, and it strongly confirms this. We found a robust inverse relationship, meaning basically the faster a player runs that 40, the more fantasy points they tend to rack up. Simple as that.
Okay.
And to give you some context on how significant that is, we measure this with something called a Pearson value. For the 40-yard dash, it came out at negative 0.193.
Negative 0.193. How does that compare to, say, other factors we know matter?
Great question. Take something everyone agrees is important, like a running back's draft capital where they were picked in the draft. That had a Pearson value of negative 0.234.
So draft capital is a bit stronger, but the 40 time is remarkably close.
Exactly. It's right up there in terms of its predictive power. It's really significant.
That is fascinating. It really puts a number on the impact of speed. But what happens when you start layering things, like combine this speed metric with other physical traits? Does that isolate an even more sort of elite group?
Yeah, that's the next logical step, right? What happens when we take this critical 4.57 second threshold and combine it with other things we know tend to matter? Ideal height, weight, BMI ranges, those sorts of benchmarks. We actually found an incredibly elite list. Just 8 running backs since 2003 fit all these criteria.
Only 8. Since 2003, that's tiny. Who made that exclusive cut?
Okay, the list is Rashad White, Melvin Gordon III, Todd Gurley II, Darren McFadden, Matt Forte, Ryan Grant, Adrian Peterson, and Justin Fargas.
That's quite a list of names, some huge fantasy producers there. What about the success rate for this incredibly selective group?
It's phenomenal, really. 7 out of those 8 players, 7 of 8, achieved at least one top 10 fantasy finish during their career. And between them, they accumulated an incredible 20 of those top 10 finishes. It just highlights the power you get when you combine these indicators.
And you mentioned Ryan Grant in there.
Yeah.
An undrafted player making a top 10 fantasy finish. I mean, that's almost unheard of.
Exactly. Ryan Grant is like the perfect example of how powerful this analytical approach can be. Undrafted, nobody spent high draft capital on him,
Right.
but he fit these optimal physical thresholds, including the speed, and bam, top 10 finish. It really showcases how this kind of data-driven analysis can uncover those hidden gems, the undervalued talent that traditional scouting might just completely miss.
Like having X-ray vision for potential.
Something like that, yeah.
So, okay, wrapping this up, our deep dive pretty clearly confirms that the 40-yard dash, and specifically that 4.57-second threshold, it's actually a powerful and statistically significant predictor for NFL running back success, at least in fantasy football terms.
Definitely seems that way.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to consider. How might applying this kind of rigorous data-driven analysis to other fields help us challenge some long-held assumptions? Could it help discover overlooked potential or maybe the true factors for success in some really unexpected places?